So moved. Support.
Moved and supported that the agenda for the May 14th meeting be approved as distributed. Are there any suggestions, changes? If none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. We have the minutes of our April 9th meeting before you. They're very well written, copious minutes in detail. Any comments? Can I have a motion for approval?
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported that the April 9th minutes be approved as distributed. If there's no further discussion, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Next, we have the approval of bills. Vouchers 13,162 to 13,168, pages 2 to 9 of our, no, pages 10 to 16 of our packet. Are there any questions?
I have one.
Go ahead.
On page 11, at the bottom of the page, it's the City of Trenton, is maintenance building and grounds. What was that for?
$345.
Oh, yeah, that was the purchase of salt. We get our salt for our...
Oh, okay.
Good question. Any other questions? Hearing none, I don't think we have a motion on the table.
So moved.
Supported.
It's been moved and supported that the vouchers be approved as distributed. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have a statement of revenues and expenses, which does not require our approval. It's for our purposes to ask any questions. This is really the first month of the fiscal year, so everything's probably not even booked yet, but I've looked them over. I don't have any questions. Does anybody else have any questions? If none, we'll just move on. If there are no questions, we'll move on. Next is the Treasurer's Report for the month of April. We do need if there are any questions on this, we do need a resolution to approve the Treasurer's Report. Hearing no questions, can I have a resolution for approval?
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and supported that the Treasurer's Report for April 2013 be approved for DPS funds as distributed. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer's Report's approved. I want to just call your attention to this page 23, the back page of the Treasurer's Report. It's good to keep familiarizing ourselves. A couple of issues. At the very bottom is the Road Improvement Fund. And tonight, I wanted to, it's my belief that if we approve all the projects for both concrete repair and asphalt repair that we will discuss later tonight, we'll exceed the budget. We have the money in our fund balance, but if you recall, the budget, we had $250,000 scheduled for road improvements this year. And that was a figure that the staff plugged at the time the budget was prepared. I think we'll spend considerably more than that if we do the projects on East River Road as they've been outlined. So we'll be spending a little over $300,000. So I just wanted to call that to your attention. So we'll have to ask in our resolution that the budget be amended when this goes back to the Township Board. Okay? The other item is the bike path maintenance. May 21st, the new Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission meets. I had a call a couple of weeks ago, actually probably 3 Sundays ago, from Tom Malvesto, one of the trustees, and I think he also called Barry.
He called me.
He called you, Jim. And Tom was concerned. He'd had some complaints about the bike path, condition of the bike path, and particularly along Meridian. So what Tom and I did is we got on our bicycles and we drove it. Spent about an hour riding the. We weren't very pretty out there, but we made several notes. And what's happening to the path is there's a lot of little cracks. There's a few locations, let's say a half dozen, where there's some repairs that need to be made. But the cracks are spreading throughout, so it's time to seal coat with a heavy seal coat, sort of to seal the cracks and provide a surface. And make sure that the surface is smooth. So what happened is, and I'm piecing this together, Lorinda or Barry, you can correct me. I came back and asked Sohail, our engineer, for a copy of the report that he'd prepared for us a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And if you recall, and John, you might recall, that report, I have it here. If we rebuilt or resurfaced all the, which is not what we're talking about. We're talking about $300,000 worth of repairs. We're not talking about that. And I understand what happened then is that Trustee Posiask, who used to be a member of our commission, am I right, contacted the engineers and asked them to do a cost estimate for their commission. So that's fine. The work needs to be done. So I understand that that's in the mix, and that's going to be part of their deliberations. I'm only pointing this out is we've been the holder of the funds, and I don't know if it's time that the funds be transferred from our commission to the new Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission or not. But I'm going to go to the commission meeting on May 21st and discuss this with them. It's pretty clear that we need to do some seal coating on the bike paths to stop the cracking and to do some of the repairs where some roots basically have uplifted and it causes a problem. So just wanted to call that to your attention. And then, of course, there's the drain fund balance. So we're going to discuss, I wanted to point out the bike path issue to you, that we may be transferring that fund over to the school commission. That's a discussion that somebody's got to have at some point, because I was surprised at the reaction after Mr. Malvesto and I rode examined the bike path. So,
just a comment. There's been no motion or indication in any way at this point to transfer the maintenance fund. There was some discussion early on when the new bike path committee was set up that, of course, it's a committee with no funding currently. And it is a decision that somebody's going to have to make where that maintenance money. It's always been my contention that the oversight and that type of repair and maintenance should remain here, strictly because of our background and our history with it. But I've heard nothing on changing it over. Did we budget crack sealing this year at all?
I'd have to look and see. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't recall the budget for the bike paths, but
no, I mean, did we budget crack sealing for the township?
No.
For the roads?
I think we put it in part of the road improvement package for 2013, although there was never a specific dollar amount that was due.
Because we haven't gone out for bids or anything on that yet?
No. In fact, the crack sealing that we're looking into right now, if we do decide to do some, we're going to try and piggyback on one of the other communities' bid that they took, because they got to.
It would just make sense that if we can identify the bad spots along the bike path when we're doing our road crack sealing, they could probably do the crack sealing.
No, it's not the same kind of treatment, Ted.
I'm not talking coat over. I'm talking crack seal.
I know. What the bike paths need is really almost like a thick seal coat. It'll filter in and cover all the little fine cracks.
Right, I understand that, but
there's a bigger cracks.
There are a number of cracks out there that need to be crack sealed before you seal coat.
All right. Well, we can look at it from that standpoint. Then there's the failures, where there's mostly tree roots that have uplifted and caused some big cracks that make it dangerous to rollerblade.
Right, may all be moved if we're going to turn the funds over to the other committee.
What's taking place right now is the Raines Company has been asked to prepare a document to take to the Bike Path Commission recommending some repairs for this summer. In fact, that document, I thought I would have it today to give to Wally, but it didn't come in. But the Raines is putting together, they walked the bike path, they looked at these issues that Mr. Malvesto had and Bill had, and they're going to address those in a proposal to the commission for repairs.
All right, so I just wanted you to know that this is an issue and that I'll be attending their meeting. And anybody's welcome to go. I guess maybe Lorinda could send out the notice to everybody as a reminder, and it's May 21st at 7 o'clock, Lorinda, in this room?
7:30.
7:30, that's the new bike path pedestrian.
Are they having the, before that, isn't there the groundbreaking for the new path on Horse Mill?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think that might be at 6, so you're right. I mean, before the meeting. I believe it's before the meeting they're going to have the groundbreaking at Thoroughfare and Horse Mill for that. But
All right, well, I assume they're going to meet at 7:30 here then,
yes.
for the regular meeting.
Yes.
All right, we have a break in the action here, gentlemen. You returned, so I'm going to let you have the floor. I guess you come up to the podium now. We're in our formal meeting.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's pretty much in agreement to petition. I guess we all voted on it, so I guess what do we got to do to move forward?
You got to tell us what you want to petition for. And then
50-50.
we'll prepare the petitions and see how it flies.
Okay. Thank you. How were we notified?
Well, I think within about a week, probably next week, not this week, but next week, you'll all individually receive the petition in the mail.
Okay.
And we'll do it on the basis of 50-50. I don't know whether that'll fly or not, but
We can try.
15 or 20 years?
Oh, we didn't discuss that.
We struggled with the majority rule here, first
Yeah.
of all. Stick with 15.
Yeah, I would think 15, yeah.
okay. We'll take the clue and one thing that's important, is the sign-up sheet still there, or did you take it in the room? I wish everybody...
Yeah, I'll take it in there and sign.
If everybody would sign up, and then you could just bring it back to Lorinda then.
Okay.
And you're welcome to sit in on the rest of this meeting. It's up to you.
I got kids at home.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have it? Okay. The next item on our agenda is the manager's report. Barry?
Yes, good evening. The first item on the report is the sanitary sewer asset management. And if all of you weren't here at the time, but back in 2007, we took the township of Groseal and we divided it into 5 sections. And on page 24, you'll see those 5 sections. That encompasses the entire island.
And that concurs with the map?
Yes, that goes along with the map. And the map is just color-coded. The colors don't mean anything other than to differentiate between the sections. The red being at the south end, that doesn't mean we're going to saw it off or anything. But anyway, back in 2007 is when this was first brought up. And basically what it would accomplish is, over a 5-year period of time, we would actually clean and televise the entire sanitary sewer system in the township. And we could do it one phase at a time, and that'll give you some kind of an estimated cost on what those phases would be based on the lineal footage and the size of the pipe. The total cost for all 5 sections right now is estimated at $630,000, round numbers. Back in 2007, the same estimate was $771,000. So it has come down since 2007. But what this does is, number one, I don't think we've ever taken the entire island and actually cleaned the system totally. We have been basically on a proactive, a reactive cleaning and TVing. If we have a problem, we go in and clean it, and we take a look at it and see if there's a repair needed. If there is, we repair it. The DEQ now is, every year we have to turn in an annual report. And what they're looking for from us is we have to tell them in general terms what we propose to do for the upcoming year as far as maintenance on our system. MDEQ, Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. We report to them on an annual basis. They look for us to put in there what we intend to do to continue to maintain the system. They're not pushy about it. They just want to know what we're going to do, and if we put it in there, we try and accomplish it. Right now, we haven't put anything in there as far as setting any specific goals. Last year, during the summer, we probably cleaned with our own vac truck everything probably south of Grow Road with our own equipment and own manpower. We don't have a TV camera to TV it, but we cleaned it. This process, what it would tell us over a 5-year period of time, is if we clean it and we TV it, we're going to be able to find any discrepancies and stuff that are in that sewer that may need immediate repairs or repairs in the future. Obviously, with the negotiations that we've got going on with the DEQ right now on the ACO, we're all looking for a gusher coming in someplace that we can't put our finger on. Over a 5-year period of time, we would get a look at every sanitary sewer on this island. And then if we did have a gusher out there someplace, it would show up. So that this is multifaceted. And I was asked to bring this back out to the Commission again for review and possibly some discussion. So here it is. This is basically what it is.
I've been involved in this sewer thing, and Ted has. I'm in favor of doing it at some point. I mean, I wish we'd have started it a couple of years ago based on this budget. But I guess I think what we have to do is see how this ties in with the ACO work, right? And you're just bringing this to us tonight.
This is strictly informational. This is what I was asked to do.
I think it's really good information, and the really neat thing in my mind is, and this is for, I'm sure Les knows about this, but and John, Phil, I don't know if you've seen or Jim or Ron, a sewer TV that's really nice. It's exciting.
I've seen some sewer stuff on TV.
Well, they pull a camera from manhole to manhole, and you actually get a perfect view of the inside of the sewer. And and the neat thing about it is that as the line runs out, it measures how many feet out, so that if you saw a crack or a rut or a failure, it would show up, and you'd know exactly where to dig from the manhole. 230 feet out from the manhole, bingo, that's where you make your excavation. So it's really a neat process. Thank you for coming tonight.
Nice to meet all you guys.
Thank you. So at any rate, this is a report.
It's a report.
I think we'll have to see, Ted, you've got a copy of it right now, right? It's in your packet too. We'll have to see how this ties in with the work that's going on with the administrative consent order from the Department of Environmental Quality. And because we have money budgeted, we don't know where it's going to be spent or how it's going to be spent at this point for sanitary sewer cleaning and inspection. So are there any other discussions on this? I mean, I'm doing all the talking here. So
Go ahead, Ted.
No, I just want to make, I don't disagree with the concept. I think we need to establish, or the Commission needs to establish a logical approach as to what we do first And those areas that I would think, just from 20, 25 years of experience in past leakage, and would be those areas that would be most susceptible to river or canal infiltration, and then work inward to the center of the island. It would just make sense to me that if we're going to do that, let's make sure our perimeter is clean, because that's where we're, if you have the gusher that everybody talks about, would probably be around the canal or around the perimeter of the island where the sewer pipes are exposed closely to water, and then move inward. I think we should do this, but I think our approach needs to be pretty specific. Just my thoughts, anyway.
Okay.
What we're saying basically is take 1/5 of the island each year for 5 years and just keep rolling it over. Just a matter of prioritizing that 1/5.
Well, I'm not sure that I would take it 1/5. I would be more, my personal thought would be, I'd like to see us do the whole perimeter of the island in every canal. Access.
5 years on that area?
And then work our way in. So we can break it up into a 5-year segment, but we're going to start at the outside and work in where you'd have the less likelihood of river or canal infiltration into the system.
I was just going to say that I, voiced my opinion for it. I think it's a good idea. I think it's something that we probably need to do and then get on a regular basis. It just seems like a good way to and a very accurate way to check out our system.
Okay, so
Bill, if I could make one more comment, also before, when we look at numbers like we're looking at here, I think we should probably explore the feasibility of buying some equipment, if not for the cleaning. I know those back trucks are huge and they're very expensive, and but perhaps the televising, so that we had the equipment on hand and we could do that phase of it. I know we're short-handed. We might have to hire someone to do that, or go in conjunction with Ohio, so that when it was over, we owned part of that equipment. Just something to look at. I don't know that it would be financially equal, but it would be something to look at, because we're going to be spending a lot of money doing this. So.
Okay.
I like what he said. But when I was still working, I was looking at a sewer cleaning truck with TV capabilities on that truck. And they have a newer one out. Jack Duhaney has it. And I talked to them back in February, and he wanted me to come up and look at this new truck. And as you clean the sewer, you have another line that goes in there. It's the TV, and it has all the capabilities of filming everything on that truck. It's one truck. It's not a Vector truck. It's a sewer cleaning truck.
Okay, well, my experience with, I don't have any experience with what you're talking about, but a Vector today, a new one, costs about $350,000.
This truck isn't that expensive.
Right.
Because
And
it's not a
then you
Vector
have to assign 2 people to it to do the work. We only have a crew of 2 people, so I think, or 3 people, so we got to, I mean, I don't know if it's something we can do, but we can look at it.
Sure.
A Vector truck, just so everybody knows, also can clean catch basins, vacuum catch basins, you know what we're talking about. And those things have really shot up in price. Anyway.
Well, we have a Vector truck, but it's a small one. It's not a very big truck.
It seems like, talking with public works officials, Les, as far as Vector trucks, the cost of running them and buying them, that you can get a lot more done annually with the private sector than you can as a government operating it. But I'm aware that recently, Rochester Hills, 2 years ago or so, instead of buying a Vector truck and assigning 2 people to it for the warmer weather months, they estimated in a 5-year period they saved $100,000 a year by not buying it and operating it and contracting it out. So something like that. So anyway, we can look at these things, though. Anybody else have a comment on this? Thanks, Barry. I guess it's an item we won't let go. I think the next step on this would probably be to see how this ties in with the other efforts that are going on to satisfy the immediate ACO issues, and then come back, because it's a budget issue, so we don't want to lose.
Okay.
I personally like the idea of doing it.
Okay.
And I'm hearing everybody else does too, right?
Okay, item number 2 is the review of the chip sealed roads. I've been trying to contact Randy Pierce from Monroe County now for the last 3 or 4 days, and I get his recording. I try to call him on his cell phone because he said that was the best way for me to contact him. I've left a couple messages, and he hasn't returned my call. So as soon as I get in touch with him, I'll try and put something together with him that we can go down and take a look at some of the chip seal roads.
All right, so I guess that's the way it'll have to work. If you can get a couple dates from him, you just throw it out to us. And,
yeah, right.
And if you got 2 dates from him, late afternoon someday, whichever date works for the majority of us, we'll just say, let's do it.
Yeah, right now, Monroe, if you haven't been down there lately, they've got Telegraph Road torn up from just about the overpass where the railroad track starts all the way through past Meyer. That's all under construction. And they're getting ready to do Monroe Street, which is M125, through the city of Monroe this summer. And that's going to be a 5-mile stretch of road right through town. And that's going to be completely redone. So their staff is kind of pushed to the limit right now, but he did say he'd work time for us to come down there and go over it with us. So it's just me getting
so we have a plan there, right?
Yes.
Barry, did he say where he's getting his money?
I didn't get around to asking him that yet, but actually those are both state roads, so that's probably where it's coming from.
State trunk line roads. All right, so the next item is item number 10, discussion items. Church Road Subcommittee report. Well, who's going to give the report? The chair?
The chair.
As I recall, we last week we had the Church Road Subcommittee had a meeting. We discussed the history of what had taken place over the last 10 to 15 years regarding Church Road, and discussed the whole purpose of the committee is to look at what we might put forward at some future time to rebuild Church Road. And so what we did in the end, we met for almost an hour and a half or 2 hours, and we asked our engineering firm, Raines Engineering, Sohail Sabak, to provide us with a quote to do a cost estimate for preliminary engineering design. So we got to start with something. So we thought we'd ask him for a quote for our June meeting to do a preliminary design, and hopefully then we could work with him towards a design, and then we would figure out where we go from there. We would bring it back to this group, and then start to discuss how we might move forward. One thing we're very careful about is we've said that our goal is to try to not touch any trees. We know that was an issue before. So what have I missed that's important? Phil or Ron?
Well, we also discussed how we might want to propose to the township funding going forward from that.
Yes, we did.
And there was discussion as to whether we wanted to just propose funding for that project by itself, or whether we wanted to look at and include other projects and then go for funding totally, since it would have to be bonded.
Good. I'm glad you reminded me of that. We didn't come up with any conclusion. We just threw out some ideas. So that's the kind of thing the committee's working on. Ron, anybody else? Did I cover it, Lorinda?
Yep.
All right. So that will be on our next agenda, which will be the report, the quote from Sohail Sabak to do the preliminary engineering design for Church Road and a cost estimate. If there's no further comments there, we'll move on to action items. Park Lane Elementary Drainage Project, which is found on page 25 of your package. Barry?
Yes, the first action item is a motion to recommend to the Township Board to award bid to Pro Excavation Incorporated, lowest bidder, in the amount of $26,292 for the Park Lane Elementary School drainage improvement based on the recommendation of the Charles E. Raines Company. Bill, you probably can give a little background on that if you want.
Well, I don't know if I need to. Is everybody up to speed on this? Everybody's seen the project? Everybody knows about it? I recall at one time we had a budget of $50,000, but I see that when you look at the bids, we got a bid of $26,000, and now that $50,000 was a budget, but we got a bid of $26,000, $27,000, and one of $29,000. So, and they're all under 50. I was a little worried when I saw this. Geez, can the contractors really do what we want done and do it well for the price? I talked to Sohail Sabak about it, and he thought it was a good bid. So I had a thought at one time that when we approve this amount, maybe we should approve a contingency amount if there's any field changes that would, when people get out there, because we all have looked at the plan, and they're going to reestablish that drain and cut all the dead trees down and make it look nice and clean it up. I just hope it's going to turn out the way I envisioned it turning out, and I wonder if we shouldn't. So we're going to recommend, and I don't even know how we do this. We recommend approval of this great bid, and I have to go back to the schools and let them know what's going on. And if you recall, they were going to contribute up to $10,000. I mean, it was a percentage of the project, so their percentage is going to drop. But I was worried that we didn't have, that we should have some, like an additional $5,000 or something to, if in the field they want to do something more extensive than to make it look better, then they'd have the ability to do that.
Bill, did on the school, from the school's end, was it a percentage or was it a flat 10,000?
There was a percentage. I've got. There was a percentage. I thought I'd put my finger right on it. I brought it with me. I don't find it.
Well, if it was a percentage, would they then be willing, like if we went out there and there's an extra $5,000 extra cost, would it be, say, 20% or whatever it is?
20% of the final cost.
Of the
So
final cost, even if it exceeds it, it would be $26,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Up to
Look,
the dollar level.
that's what we proposed as a commission, and I'm trying to find their letter, but they came back and indicated they would participate. Now, I guess I can't put my finger on it right now. But it was 20% of the cost, total cost. Not to exceed $10,000.
The timeline on doing this?
Well, the timeline is they're supposed to start right after school.
Which is only a month away.
It's over.
Yeah.
And they tell me it's going to take 2 weeks to do this. Yeah, the original estimate for the job was $55,000. And of course, this bid doesn't include the engineering and so forth, so that's right. That all, and the staking. The engineering is staking, and there is extensive staking involved in that. Actually, the engineering was estimated at $9,000. So, and actually, they're looking at this, the construction amount estimate was $39,000, so we're at 26 with a contingency built in on it. So maybe it's not so bad.
It's in there.
Do you need a motion on this?
Anyway, we need a motion to approve.
I make a motion, we approve.
A second, that's
Okay.
Are you adding a contingency to this?
I'm talking myself out of it. What do you think? What do you all think? And I don't even know how that would fly with the township board.
I don't think it's necessary.
All right.
I think that if we get into a situation at the end of this thing where we need a couple of dollars to clean it up, it may have to come back to the township board, but I don't see that happening.
Well, I was thinking it'd probably be a change order in the field or something. You know, in the budget, there was a 15% contingency.
Maybe. Well, I think they all run at 10%, I mean, without even coming back, so if we get into that situation, it'll be a quick hit. I don't see a problem. I would be comfortable.
Well, Ted, in the original budget was $39,780, and a contingency of 15% was $5,967. Could we approach this, award this with a contingency of $5,000 in it, in case they want to make field changes?
Sure.
You can.
As long as it's in the motion of the township board.
Yeah, I agree with Ted to a degree. The 15% contingency on most bids is a given as long as it's reviewed and approved. I don't think it has to be mentioned in the...
No, I don't either.
All right, then we'll proceed on that basis then. So we will not, and we'll just take a motion to approve, recommend the award of bid as bid. And you've already made the motion, Les?
I make a motion to recommend this.
Has it been supported?
Yeah, it's been supported.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. And I'll be contacting the schools and letting them know what's going on. So, and Lorinda, you have to remind me to do that the next week, okay? The next item is really exciting and truly. The street repairs. What we're looking for here is we want to proceed with the street repairs. We already have authorization to do it. If you look on page 32, we have authorization to proceed with the street repairs. In the budget for street repairs this year, we had budgeted $250,000. So we can proceed tonight with the concrete repairs. I wanted you to see the final list from our drive-through. So we have projects listed with Manchester, Martin Lane. Is everybody looking at page 32? Mm-hmm. Manchester. Now, these are based on the quantities that when our staff and the engineers went out and looked and sized everything up, how many square yards of concrete need to be fixed. Manchester, Martin Lane, Grays Drive, we show LaSalle Court in there, Canterbury at Burning Bush, Lowry, Park Lane near Thorntree Court, Park Lane. There's 3 park lanes, both all south of Macomb. We didn't catch that on our survey, but the road's really falling apart there.
Yeah, since we took the survey, there was one area, in fact, just south of Macomb Street, that actually we've got a gate well structure that's failing and a part of a piece of road slab. And we went out and took a look at it, and we're replacing, along with that gate well repair, we're going to replace quite a bit of road in there, too.
Another road that we didn't catch on our tour was Playscape Drive. That's next to the post office. And the next time you go to the post office, look at it. It's really in bad shape. It is bad. And the children ride their bicycles there. We need to fix those. So we added that. And then because of the more that the engineers drove around, we saw a spot here or a spot there. I thought that we should just throw a miscellaneous item in of $10,000, and as they're out, they can make a decision of what they're going to do. So I wanted you to see that. We're really authorized to proceed with that at this point.
Yes, this isn't something that has to go to the board.
And I guess I'm looking for guidance. Now, the other thing with regard to road repairs, Lorinda has provided us with a handout. And I guess everybody's got to find this preliminary estimate, that handout today. It wouldn't be part of your packet to be separate. And attached to it are several drawings that look like this. These are the improvements we've talked about on East River Road.
Right here.
So, once everybody finds them, what I'd like to show you are the drawings for the way they're put together. First we have Church Road, and then there was an additional one for Church because this intersection didn't portray how far we're going to go from Church Road south on East River Road. with an improvement. And then the next one is Stout and East River. And then the next one is Island and East River. And then the final one is Ferry. Now, we didn't discuss Ferry when we went out, but in our meeting with Sohail, he had brought up the point. He said, if we are going to chip seal Ferry, he didn't think it would be a good idea to chip seal Ferry where it just immediately west of its intersection with East River, because there's a grade there, and if you chip seal it, it may be slippery. So he said we should put asphalt in there. And it's something we hadn't thought about, but I think it's a good suggestion. So he did these really fine measurements for us, and then came up with the preliminary cost estimate, which is $98,000. So if I look at the $98,000, well, the good news on this is that Sohail last Friday talked to Wayne County, and they've agreed to do this work for the $98,000. Now, I don't have a timetable on that yet. I wanted you all to see this, but we're going to ask for a timetable.
Right. The agreement, I think, that Sohail discussed with me was that if we bore the cost to mill the area and purchase the asphalt, Wayne County would supply the labor and equipment to actually do the work. So what I think right now with the county the way it is probably a pretty good deal.
Can we trust the quality of the work?
98, 96, 98.
I think it is. I think it's in there. I'm not certain of that, though.
What is the question, Ted?
I'm just wondering if Wayne County's participation is in this 98.
No.
Yeah, I don't think, it may not, at 98 probably not.
No, that's just our share.
That's the milling.
They're going
and
to supply the
pavement.
labor.
So 98,000 would be our portion of the cost.
Our portion of the cost.
Yeah. They're going to mill it and then put 8.5 inches of asphalt down, that we would also bear the cost of the asphalt material itself.
For $98,000.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of that.
Well, what does the 98,000?
Yeah,
No, my discussion with Sohail, it does not include the labor. It includes the milling and purchase of the asphalt. Period.
Okay, but it does say here that there's a Grosseal quantity and a Wayne County quantity.
right, yeah, that's
So-
what I'm...
So it is a good possibility that it's both. I have to get it clarified. But right now, the milling itself runs about $10, $15 a square yard to do, and the asphalt material right now is running between $65 and $70 a ton. So, based on that, and 4 inches, to give you an idea, 4 inches of asphalt, 1 ton will cover about 5 square yards at 4 inches.
So, Barry, I'm confused by what this is telling us. We're saying that all of these intersections can be completed, and our cost to get that done, Grosseal's cost would be $98,000. The rest would be borne by the county?
No, I guess, Ron, I misread this. I misread it. It's $86,000.
When we went out and talked, and Lonnie talked, we were going to do like Church, Stout, Island, and Ferry, and they were going to do East River. So if you look at your picture and see, you see the coming down Church, for instance, we were going to do Church to East River, they were going to do East River, and same with each one of them. That would seem to make some sense as to Grosseal quantity and Wayne County quantity.
So we've got two numbers on here, 86,000 and 98,000. Now we're saying 86,000 is what the township cost would be, and the difference, that 12,000 is what the county is?
Ron, I'm going to get that clarified because I'm not certain.
Okay.
Yeah,
The way I'm reading it, Ron, is that our cost would be 86, and the cost estimated for the counties would be 98.
yeah, that
Yeah,
looking at these numbers, that's the way I'd read it.
I was going to say that too, but I didn't want to commit.
But yeah, let's get it.
Well, I think, okay, I misread that. I just didn't even look at that column. But I would say that what I'd like to do is move this forward tonight, and let's do it on the basis that our costs are the 86.9, and that the counties are the 98. And I'll tell you why. I would like to move forward with this, with all these improvements. We're going to exceed the budget of $250,000. But we have these projects, we know we need to do them in hand. And if the county's willing to do it, the longer we wait, the less chance they're going to get it done this year. So another element is when we did other intersections, we did the intersections with the county at Ferry and Meridian, at Churchill Meridian, and those are holding up fine. And that was several years ago. And others, where the county did them for us. So we've had good experience with their work. What I think they tend to do is, when they start, they do it a little more than they were going to do. So to get them out here to do this is right. And if you notice the depth, the 8.5 inches we're talking about, these are solid repairs we're making. 8.5 inches. So I was pleased to see that. So what my proposal is to do is I'd like to move forward with the asphalt repairs with the county and with the concrete repairs. So the 214 and the 86,000, that's really that's $300,000 worth of improvements tonight. And our budget's $250,000, so we'll make we'll add up the dollars. But when this goes back to the township board, I think we need to make a report. And it's good news if the county's going to do all this. We could make a report to the county, but at the same time ask them in our resolution to amend the budget so that we can do this $300,000 worth of repairs.
How much money do you think you're going to need for a budget? One of the numbers in here in the chip sealing is considerably more than I think it's going to be. You have two amounts in here for 30.
I think I've thought this through a little bit. I think if we decide we want to go with the chip sealing,
right?
But I just don't want to go do it and not go back to the township board. I mean, I think we owe the township board an explanation that we're going to chip seal. We've researched it, and here's what we're going to do, and here's what it's going to cost.
Right.
We get all that together, and then we go to the township board. I don't want them to get, and I know they wouldn't with Ted and Jim, but I think, wouldn't you prefer that when we're ready to do that, we go back to the township board and say, we've got a price, here's what we're going to do, and here's how it's done, and here's what you can expect, so that you don't start getting a bunch of complaints from people. We need to send letters out to everybody on the streets we're going to do it on, based on what I've been told. I want to take that separately back, too.
Okay. Well, all I was saying is if we put the chip sealing number in perspective, you might not need a budget amendment for additional money. Because you have $60,000 in here for chip sealing, and in Monroe County told me they could do it for $13,000 a mile.
But Barry, we got 214 for the concrete, and we got 86 for Church, Stout Island, and Ferry. So there's our $300,000.
Right. I'm not sure you'd be able to pick it all up, but I'm just saying I think there's room that you could reduce it there.
Well, I don't even have, in that $300,000, I don't even have the chip seal in there.
Right.
Okay.
It's a separate item. And the crack sealing, the same thing. I mean, if we're going to do the crack sealing with the Downriver Community Conference, we need to take that item separately back to the township board, because it's a separate deal. I mean, we've already got the concrete accounted for. What we're going to be going back to the township board is with the deal with the county. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes,
Ted,
I do.
jump in here. Jim? Ted, you following me on all this?
You haven't lost me yet. The only issue here is this issue is a non-issue because we have the funds in the road fund.
Yes, we do.
That's all money collected tax-wise.
We have the fund.
It's already there.
Right. We have 500,000 in the road fund.
I mean, we're talking, I'm not even sure we need a budget adjustment. I will talk to other members of the board. I think we can just, because that's what these funds are designated for, is road repair, and that's what we're doing with it. It may require a motion or an approval by the board. I'm not sure of that, but I think we just need to move forward with whatever project you want to bring forward to the township board, and let the township board worry about whether they need to adjust the budget or not. That shouldn't be this commission's responsibility. Let the township board worry about it. If you want 310,000 or 315,000, make that motion, send it forward to the board, and let the board worry about the rest of it.
All right? Okay, so, Barry, my idea in the chip sealing, then, if we take this all at one time, my idea in the chip sealing is that we know that we have to make some pavement repairs in addition to the chip sealing.
Right.
I don't know what that will amount to. So
that's
I'd
fine.
rather have a high budget so we can do it
That's fine.
without having to run back and forth.
Works for me.
And if we want to have a budget of, let's say, $30,000 for, because we're actually, instead of 30 to 50, if we want to do $30,000 worth of crack sealing and tie on to a contract that somebody else is bidding, we could do that too. If you want to.
Speaking of crack sealing, I really do believe that we need to, driving around the township and looking at some of the roads, we haven't done any crack sealing here in probably 4 or 5 years, and we're really due. If we want to preserve some of these roads, extend the life of them, we need to do some crack sealing this year.
Okay, so what I propose then is that we consider a resolution that would, we already have approval for the concrete, but that we do the concrete repairs as outlined. We enter into an agreement with the county for their repairs for $86,900. That we budget chip sealing at $60,000 and $30,000 for crack sealing. And we take this in a report to the township board.
Do we want to put that in the form of an action item or a motion?
Put that in form of motion.
You got it? Okay.
You got the numbers?
Dorinda has it.
So moved.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Support.
Moved and supported that we do what has just been outlined and make a report to the township board. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just one comment. So we want to leave LaSalle Court in there for 2013 when we have the proposal coming forth to do a complete reconstruction?
Well, let's worry about that when they bring back the petitions.
Okay. So as it stands now, we're requesting money appropriated from the township to do $50,000 worth of repair on LaSalle Court this year.
Right.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
And I suppose, I mean, one way we could always handle it is if we decide, if the township accepted that, we could just budget the other money next year. The other $15,000.
Take that money out and move it.
Or we could use it, we could take $10,000 out of the drain fund.
Correct.
There's $10,000.
Whatever the drainage is going to be, sure.
Yeah, we could discuss any of those options. All right.
Okay.
So any other questions? All in favor, get by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And my whole purpose in spending time on that is, I think I'd like to report on these improvements to the township board. I mean, I think the township board should know, particularly along East River, and the potential of chip sealing.
Sure.
I mean, okay, enough said. We have one more item, action item. Barry, pressure reducing valve.
Yes. Item number 3 is pressure reducing valves, and the information starts on page 33, 34. And this is an action item that really doesn't have to go from this commission to the township board. This item has been specifically budgeted for this year. So what we're looking for tonight, what I'm looking for tonight is just authorization from this commission to have Charles Rains Company put it out for bid. Once the bids are received, it comes back to the commission for your approval, and after that, then it makes its way to the township board for final approval. So starting on page 34, what you have is a letter. What Sohio tried to do or did do here was put some estimated costs together as to what we'd be looking for either the repair or the replacement of these pressure-reducing valves. In page 34, they reference or they speak about actually repairing it. And if you look at the costs involved in the repair, and then the fact that you really don't get any warranty with the repair in the age of the pressure-reducing valves themselves, I think the new outweighs the repair. But they did put that in here so you could take a look at it and get an idea what the repair costs would be. Page 35 is when we go to option 1, and that goes along with page 36. You can see in here the letter, the email that was sent to Sohio. The estimated cost to do the actual work is about $30,000. And then on page 36 is what the cost would be for 2 new pressure-reducing valves. And you'll see those on the sheet at $4,300 each for a total of $8,600. There again, along with the estimated cost of the work to be in the neighborhood of $30,000. So if you move on to page 37 and 38, you'll see option 2. And basically, it's the same pressure-reducing valve, only it has some additional equipment onto it that actually provides us with significant information that we wouldn't have available to us on the standard PRV. This one, over the first one, includes a motor-operated pilot valve for remote pressure setting adjustments, which means that we can actually adjust the pressure in that PRV valve off-site. And it would also provide us with a downstream pressure transmitter, which something we don't have in the system right here now. We can get pressure readings at the pump house that tells us what the pressure readings are at that point. And other than that, our pressure readings that we get from our SCADA system are strictly Detroit's pressures. So it really doesn't tell us too much about what's going on in the township itself. So that's one of the advantages. And also, you'll see another item there where it's a quantity of 2. It says optional flow meter adder. This is an actual insertion in the system that actually will read the flow gallons through that meter. In other words, it acts as another meter itself. And you can actually compare the reading that's coming through that meter through the PRV and kind of compare it to what Detroit's billing us for through their master meters. I don't look at that as being a real important option at this point, but they put it in here as an option. I do see some value in the first item where we have the availability to adjust the pressure in the PRV off-site and the downstream pressure transmitter. Valuable information to us. So basically, I think what I'd be asking the Commission to approve is authorize us to go for bids for these PRV valves using both options. And then we can find out what the costs will be. We can bring them back to the Commission, and at that time, the Commission can decide which avenue they want to take. But at this time, we would probably put the bid out with the standard PRV valves with the construction work involved to replace it. And then option 2 would be, as you see it on page 38.
Well, Barry, so you would still include the optional flow meter adder?
We could put that as a separate line item, so we could delete that from it if we wanted to. I would probably bid it under these conditions, but it would be a separate line item. So if we said, look, we do not want the added flow meter, we could deduct that from the bid. But it would give us an idea what the costs are anyway. It would pretty much run the gamut.
Barry, do they need 2 of those in there?
Yes.
We only have one over in Trenton,
One what?
PRV valve.
Right. The system we have in place over here, Les, the 16 comes into the pit, and there's bypasses around the 16 is closed. There's 2 8-inch bypasses that go around, and there's a PRV valve on each one of them.
Would it be cheaper to put one PRV valve in?
2 8s versus a 16? Not sure. But as old as that system is up there, I think the safer way to go is replace the 2 8s and kind of leave the basic system the way it is. But that's something that could be done, but I have a funny feeling that and I could find this out.
Maybe we should look into that, just replacing those 2 and just putting 1 in. And because we already got one over here.
Right.
And because I don't know how those things ever did work, because all the years I worked there, they were put in way before I came in 1965.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever been looked at. And I'm amazed that they're still working. They were buried in 3 feet of mud. We actually had to get in there and vac those pits out so we could actually see what was in there. And right now, the pictures that we took when we were in there working, you wouldn't want to... I would hesitate to touch anything in there. As far as opening and closing valves, I mean, you're sticking your neck out a mile.
I agree with you.
Well, I did have a question on the location. The one is off the Pay Bridge where the little brick house is.
Yes.
Everybody know where that is?
No, not the Pay Bridge. The little brick house is off the county bridge here. Oh, you're thinking of the pump house.
The pump house.
No, that's not. No.
There's no pressure.
No.
All right, so off the county bridge on our side?
No, on the mainland. Right across from the entrance to Elizabeth Park.
Oh, that building there. Okay.
Yeah, that little building.
Okay.
That's what houses our main coming across here. It has the meter in it.
Where's the one on the 16-inch?
The one on the 16 is on the west side of the toll bridge, just between the meter pit itself, which is up toward the toll booth, and the river itself. There's a concrete vault in there, and that's what houses, all it houses is the 2 pressure-reducing.
I think that's what you mentioned some time ago to us.
Okay. Yes.
All right.
I make a motion that we prepare this to go out for bid to replace that, and also look at the option of maybe putting 1 in there.
I can take a look at that. I understand, and I can do that. It's easy for me to get a price on a 16-inch PRV, but I have a funny feeling you're going to pay more for the 116 than you will for the 2 8s. But I can find that out.
Could I just make a comment? I think the 2 valves were put in for redundancy. If you were to have a defective valve or something break within the valve, you still had half a system running.
Yeah, but we don't have to worry about that anymore because we can shut that main down.
I understand that, but I'm saying why it was put in. But I can tell you right now, it's okay to go out for bids for it. But a 16-inch valve is huge. We put them in.
Oh, I know. I've turned a lot of them.
They're huge expense. I think it's imperative that we have metering ability on both sides of this PRV so that we know what we're getting and what we're delivering. I'm fully in favor of a means for rapid control of that. because I think what breaks our mains here and every place throughout the country is these surges, and it only takes a 5 or 8, 10-pound surge, and even if you have a PRV and it's not an instant reactor, for 10 seconds you may have a 30-pound surge on your side. Before that PRV reacts, you're going to lose the line.
Right.
Someplace, one of these old lines are going to let go.
Right. And we can, and as Les knows, in the pump house, we have a pressure device in there that reads the pressure when it gets to the pump house.
Right.
And even though the PRVs are in there, that pressure will fluctuate. I mean, it doesn't hold it right exactly
Absolutely.
at 50 pounds or 55. You can see it go up and down. So you're right. If a pressure surge in our system, it make it look like a sprinkler system.
Already, it does all the time.
Yeah, it does all the time. But I mean, right now, just to give you an idea, Detroit's pressure to us runs about 70 pounds, PSI. When we run it through our PRVs, we reduce it down to 50, between 50 and 55 pounds. So
But I think we need to monitor on both
I
sides.
agree. The more monitoring that we can put in the system, down the road, it's just going to be that much better for us.
Okay. Those are all good points, Les and Ted, thanks. Other questions? I did have a question. On page 38, Barry, that 30,000, now, that does not include installation.
No, it does not.
And as I read, on page 35, that you could estimate about 30,000 for removal of the old PRVs and installation of the new. So, on page 36, when we look at 8,000, we're really talking about 38,000.
Yes.
And we're really talking 60,000 on page 38.
That's correct.
I just wanted to clarify
That's
that.
correct. And
Maybe everybody.
as far as the installation cost, it doesn't make any difference which option you go with.
Right.
The installation cost will be the same.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Was there support for it? Support. Okay. The motion and support to go out for bids for pressure-reducing valves as outlined by our director.
Now, does that include the 16?
And look at the
In the bid?
I'll get
Look at the
I'll
16 too.
Yeah, I think it's got to be in the motion, so
It is.
everybody's clear.
I
That's
think-
what I thought.
yeah.
That's what I thought, just
It was in
being
the
sure.
motion. No further questions or comments? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That item is approved.
Okay, one question I have, and I probably should have did it before you actually approved it. Do you want me to include in the bid the price to install a 16-inch PRV?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're gonna get a price on it, we need the whole picture.
Okay.
So the work is not just going to include, it's going to cause some restructuring of the 8-inch lines. Correct?
It's going to, if you put in a 16-inch
So you're going to get into
PRV,
some water main. If, I would say this, that if, before we spend a lot of money on engineering, if the price for a 16-inch is in and of itself way beyond this, and we still are looking at an installation cost, do we want to do the engineering to have the,
Well, we're just going to get the bids. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
that's all
just
we're
the
doing.
bids.
well, you got to bid on something. I mean, if you've got two 8-inch lines, at some point, you got to, don't you have to connect them to a 16-inch?
Yeah.
If you decide to put in a 16-inch PRV, you're changing the scope totally. Because number one, you're going to shut the water off coming to the island, period. Right now, we can do them half at a time, because you can leave one 8-inch side open while you got the other 8-inch side shut down. But if you install a 16, you have to turn the water off at the master meter.
All right, well,
I have a suggestion, and you can take it for what it's worth. Before we ask for bids on a 16-inch PRV installation, let me find out what the cost of that PRV is.
that's what I was, that's what I'm thinking for.
Because it's-
And if you find that it, in and of itself, is way outlandish, then
I can almost assure you it's going to be more than the 2/8 combined.
You know, I've been in the piping business a long time. And if you can't get a contractor to come in here and give you a price on extending a 16-inch line with a PRV valve in it, you're dealing with the wrong contractor.
All right.
You don't need engineering to do that. I mean, you got a pipe here, and you got a pipe here, and you want a valve in the middle of it.
Right.
I don't see any engineering involved here.
Oh, you don't?
None.
Okay, I was thinking that at some point, we'd have to join the two 8-inch lines into a 16.
We're going to cut them off. I mean, if we go that way, you'll cut them right out.
They're already joined.
They're joined coming over the bridge.
16?
No, they're joined in that pit.
Right?
Oh, they're joined in that pit, okay.
Just make a
I misunderstood
Put the
that. All right.
16 off and the 8's running,
Yes.
you reverse it.
Yeah, you'd have to open up.
So we'll leave the motion the way it is, Barry, and you'll just
Install
bid
the
it.
PRV in the 16-inch line.
I mean, if a contractor can't bid it, then he can't bid it. But
I don't think the contractor's going to have any difficulty bidding it. I'm just saying that the scope is going to change dramatically if you decide to put the 16-inch PRV in there over the 2.8s. And we can bid it both ways, because
I don't understand what scope are you talking about.
on what's involved in installing the 116 versus the 2.8.
But that would be a contractor's.
Yeah, but his time is money. So if
Well, you mean you're going to pay for the bid?
we're going to pay to have the work done,
Right. But what I'm saying is you're going to pay for the bid? All we're asking for is bids here.
is a bid, but, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
I assumed that there'd be some re-engineering, that's why I raised the question, but if not, all right, then we'll just, the motion was, Barry, to take bids on 16 as well as the 2.8s.
I can do that.
All right. We'll leave it at that then. So we approve the motion, we'll move beyond that point. Okay.
Take a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't take one. All right. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so we're going to proceed with the bids on the pressure-reducing valves. Next is public comment. You've been sitting here, Joe or Bob, you have any comments?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I had the opportunity to come to your meeting tonight. I don't normally get that opportunity because I have to be someplace else, but I just want to say this. The DPS Commission meetings are very, very important. You people make decisions that are very important to the public health, safety, and welfare of this township, a township that I live in. So I can assure you that I am very, very much interested in what you have to say and what you do. I can't make all your meetings, but I do religiously watch you on TV. And keep up the good work. I think you do a very good job at efficiently applying your resources to the number of projects that you have. Now, with that said, I've already expressed my gratitude to the board for your excellent dust control program. Being one of the residents who lives on a dirt road, your program, as far as I'm concerned, is a home run. And I say this because, first of all, you use Supreme product. I think it's cost effective. It pays you back. The Durabond is excellent. I have people that come and visit me in the summer who live in neighboring communities on dirt roads. First comment is, did you just have your road done? And I tell them, no, it's been 7-8 weeks, and they're just amazed. Their comment is, we have to have our roads done 2, sometimes 3 times during the summer, and we still don't have the dust control quality that you have here. So, number 2, the person or the contractor that you have doing the job does an excellent job. These people come back, they don't just make a pass down the road and they're gone. They're back a number of times looking at spots that they missed. Is it Mr. Alani?
No, it's D&D is a different company.
Oh, I'm sorry. They come back and they review, and the key is to lay this stuff down heavy on the first application. And they do. They're not stingy. So they do an excellent job. Third, our management team, Mr. Sedlock and his group, religiously, those bids are in April. And we have this application down in the second week of May so we can enjoy our summer. Very much appreciated. So it's a home run, guys. Very excellent program. Was well thought out. You do a great job. I want you to know that the community very much appreciates it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob, for your comments. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Anything from you, Joe?
No, sir.
Bill, just to follow up on the dust control, for the viewing audience out there tomorrow, they're going to start applying the material tomorrow. And it'll go through tomorrow and into Thursday. So just so everyone knows, the roads, the county was in the last 2 days and graded all the gravel roads, and we're ready to put down the material.
Great. Thank you, Barry. Okay, the only report I have is Barry and I had a discussion. We've talked about this before, and the discussion is to see if there's any interest in changing our meeting time to 7 o'clock or sometime moving it up a little bit. Is there any interest on anybody's part to do that?
I think we discussed that before,
We have.
and everybody agreed 7:30 was a good time.
Okay. I just wanted to throw it out there again. If we could move it up 30 minutes, would make a big difference. Get everybody home a half hour earlier. But it's entirely up to you.
Well, I know that in the past, Wally always had a problem with it when he was a commissioner.
I don't know, it's been 7:30 since 1984 that I know of.
All right. We'll leave it. That's all that I have. I want to thank everybody for your all the time you've spent the last 2 meetings here with us. So, with that, commissioners' reports or comments. Ted?
I don't know if everybody's aware in the commission, we got notification from the DEQ that we didn't meet our ACO, and because we didn't meet our ACO, we were in violation of the previous ACO, and we were in violation of the amount of $10,000, but they would accept $1,000. Dale and I had some conversation. I talked to Bill, Jim. I mean, we can't hire half a lawyer for that. So ultimately, we ended up sending them $1,000. Maybe they ran out of coffee or something, I'm not sure. But that's the cooperation we're getting. And they know full well that they all agreed that we were going to wait till a study was done, and they still find us. So better than last year. Last year was 10,000, right? I think
Yes, it was.
10,000. So at least it's getting better.
Yeah, they're not drinking quite as much coffee as they were last year.
Yeah, and along with that, they did give us until August to finish our study, so
Right.
so who knows?
So we got something for $1,000. Anything else, Ted?
No.
Les?
The only thing I have is, I don't know who could get into contact with somebody in the county and put the proper name on my street. My street is not Parkway Drive. It's Grosse Ile Parkway, and it's been that way since the trains were going across it. Some people have come to me, and the delivery people can't find us. I says, "Is this Grosse Ile Parkway?" I said, "Yes, this is Grosse Ile Parkway." And how it got changed to Parkway Drive was way back on the road committee back in the 70s. There was a person on the road committee that kept saying Parkway Drive, and he was pretty close to some people in the county, and all of a sudden, Grosse Ile Parkway sign came down, and Parkway Drive came up. So whoever's in contact with the county, could we please get the proper name on our street? It takes 4 signs. One on Meridian, one on Dallas, one on Woodside, and one as it comes out at the end. That's all I have.
I guess I'm going to leave that up to staff.
We can contact the county. You know, they're obviously in charge of the signage over here, so we can. What is yours is Parkway?
Grosse Ile Parkway.
What is the main road coming onto the island?
Grosse Ile Parkway.
Over the bridge.
Well, then, if
Grosse Ile Parkway and Meridian were laid out as a double highway, both ways,
okay,
up and down the island.
so if somebody lived in front of you between your house and the paved part of Grosse Ile Parkway, would their address still be Parkway?
They can't. That's all county easement.
It's all easement. There was a boulevard at one time laid out that way.
That's when Kelsey developed that subdivision. The houses that are on Meridian between Parkway and Bellevue, there used to be a street like where that log cabin is, that driveway that goes in front of that log cabin actually is Meridian, because the cabin is built right almost on the boundary. And throughout the time, because I remember when I was a kid growing up, we used to ride our bikes down there and didn't have to go out on a paved road. The people got tired of the cars going up and down there, so they just put their driveways out to Meridian. But the people on Parkway weren't that smart to do that.
We'll see if we can't, now that we have a little history on it, maybe we'll see if we can't work it out.
Yeah, the tax bills and all my electric bills and everybody's bills come, it says Grosse Ile Parkway. But it's confusing to delivery people. Very
Because of the
confusing.
street sign.
Pardon?
Because of the street sign.
Right.
Okay. Okay, staff's made a note of that. Phil?
No comment.
John?
Nothing further at this time.
Nothing further?
Jim? Ron?
Nothing further.
Jim?
Nothing, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Support?
All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.